let's just imagine, right? We've got a family who have broken down on the side of the M6. It's midnight, and we need to get a patrol to that family. We don't quite know, what pets they've got in the car. We don't know what the fault with the engine is, but we know there's a family in distress. If we use AI and technology to get that journey better and make it right and more predictive and dispatch the right resources with the right parts, like that could be a game changer. It could be absolutely transformational.
Hello and welcome back to the Data and AI Mastery podcast. I'm really excited about today's episode because once again, we're doing something a little different, and this time we're heading somewhere most of us have turned to at the side of a road at some point in our lives. That's right, we're joined by two leaders from the AA, a brand that has been keeping British drivers moving for over a century and is now in the middle of a remarkable transformation story. I'm joined by Nick Edwards, Group Chief Technology Officer, who is building the technology infrastructure that is redefining how a 120-year-old brand operates in a world of connected cars, generative AI, and rising customer expectations. And Harj Johal, Managing Director of Customer Operations, who leads the teams and the human experience behind every breakdown call, every app interaction, and every moment when a member needs the AA most. Together, we explore what the AA's vision of digital convenience with human care really means in practice, what it takes to bring thousands of colleagues with you on an AI transformation journey, and why some of the most interesting questions in our industry right now are being answered at the Roadside in the UK. Whether you're leading a technology transformation, running customer operations at scale, or simply curious about what responsible AI looks like inside a business that people generally trust with the safety, this episode is one you won't want to miss. Let's dive in. Hey Nick, hey Harj, how are you guys doing?
Hey, Raoul.
Very good.
Great to have you on the Data and AI Mastery podcast today. Let's kick it off. So hey Nick, you joined the AA in 2022 from Lloyd's Banking Group.
Yep.
You've been recognized as a Global Chief Digital Officer 100 Awards. That's pretty sexy. You've described your motivation as curiosity and a desire to solve problems that generally matter to people. So I'd love to hear from you. What problem at the AA first grabbed you? What's the opportunity?
Well, many people know the AA. It's a really visible business in the UK. It's been around 120 years. First problem was the core of the business. Gentleman to my left runs our contact centres. Most of our calls were coming in for breakdown reporting to the contact centre. We wanted to build out a digital version of that, get with the times. So first problem was really rooted in the core of the business, which is like, when I need you, how do I get you? And how do I avoid having to phone unnecessarily? So we built out a whole new breakdown reporting suite. That was the first problem we got to work on.
Amazing. And I can imagine quite a journey to deep dive into in a moment. And Harj, you're a legend in the industry. You've led teams of around 4,000 people across 3 continents. So that's a massive scale. So I'd love to hear from you. What brought you to the AA and what made the opportunity so compelling?
Yeah, I think as Nick said, firstly, the brand is so recognizable, you can't ignore it when the AA comes knocking. I think the second thing that really appealed to me at the opportunity was I had no predecessor. There was no overall contact center operation. There was lots of siloed operations. So they were looking for somebody with domain experience to come in and really create a center of excellence around contact centers. And clearly that's not always an opportunity that's presentable, particularly when it's with a brand. And having spoken to Jakob, the CEO, it was very clear the vision he had for the future years, and it was delighted to come on board.
Amazing. So I guess to continue, Harj, so, Nick and you guys work together, clearly a partner, you're in charge of the Frontline business, the technology, infrastructure, and platform behind it. Can you walk us through a little bit, how do you two collaborate?
Yeah, Nick joined about 3 months after I did. We hit it off, instantly from a personal level. And I think it's really important because typically in contact centers or functions like ours, there's a level of tension between contact centers and the CDO department, because typically you think the digital function is there to try and move volume and ultimately roles or capability from the contact center. So therefore there can be an unhealthy tension. We've had the complete opposite from day one. We've got on brilliantly well. Our team see that and they say that this is a safe space, and this is something that the AA has cracked in a way that other functions have struggled, which is we're trying to do ultimately what's the right thing for the customer. Reduce the effort and make it easier for them to deal with us. Make that more 24 hours than only the contact center times, But Nick has delivered so much technology and capability that's actually made the roles of my staff a lot easier. So hence why we embrace and we really collaborate with the digital function.
Amazing. So Nick, is there like a joint like measure or KPI that enables this collaboration? Like what's the secret to make this work so well?
I think Harj hit it off. It's a bit like any technology, relationships still matter. So the fact that we get on really well, we've got a common vision about the sort of AA we want to create for customers, and we're not myopic about our own worlds, like massively helps. But beyond that, we've been given freedom to develop like a joint set of KPIs, a joint set of OKRs that move the business forward. Like also, it helps that we've got a contact function that is genuinely interested in technology, is on the front foot, is pressing for better tech for colleagues, better tech for customers. So in a way, we sort of push each other, which I think actually is driven like good advancement for the group.
So what would you say, Harj and your team are so passionate about adopting technology? Like, why is that the case?
Mainly because they are so passionate about customers. And they want customers to get outcomes that, like I say, make insurance easier for them or make breakdown easier for them, but in a way that they also realise that there's something in it for them to be able to say yes to customers. And that's what they always want, and that's what they'll need. Many of my staff have worked in the organisation 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and have had to have very difficult conversations and embarrassing conversations, if you look back more than 5 years, where they couldn't do the basic things. Dealing with fax and dealing with emails as far as the AA went back then. And that is very difficult when you're trying to, show a customer that they're dealing with a real outstanding organisation. Nick and team have come in and they've delivered some amazing technology. And all that's digital technology, it's been embraced by the whole organisation. And we're seeing that across many of our KPIs and metrics now are at the best level they've ever been in the AA. And that's due to the collaboration where my team understand that we are ultimately the people who have to bring that to life. We've got to embrace the technology. We've got to promote it with customers to say, next time it may be better if you try to do that yourself, and we'll send them a link for digital. Rather than think, no, I only want you to deal with the channel that I work on. They understand the value for the organisation rather than just one function.
So Nick, as Group Chief Technology Officer, clearly you want to encourage technology adoption, accelerate business outcomes, but surely must not be that easy, right? There must be some resistance in the business. So I guess I'm curious, how do you two manage to make it work? 'Cause it's great to hear, a passion for customer outcome, but surely there must be internal resistance, right? So how do you overcome that?
Genuinely, I was in Lloyds Banking Group for 20 years before here, where you did face into pockets of it. I've got to say that AA is a pretty remarkable place. It's got a culture of can do. It always has. It's very operational. Every single day we'll deal with about 11,000 breakdowns. We don't quite know where they'll be or what the fault will be, but it's a pretty operational business. And therefore the teams are used to finding creative ways to deal with problems. Weather, this country is so dependent on the weather. A slight dip in temperature or increase in rain will dramatically change the landscape. So that business, genuinely saying, has a very can-do attitude. So very few pockets of resistance. And as we come on later, even with AI, the appetite to adopt it was higher than the business's ability to scale it initially. So there is something unique about this business where colleagues grab it, want to run with it. Now, what we've got to do is make sure we've got the right thinking, the right guardrails, the right measurement framework. That's our job. But the colleagues on the ground, I find genuinely sort of welcoming technology across the business.
Amazing. So Harj, as a leader, how do you support that culture of innovation and experimentation?
I think you've hit the nail on the head, Raoul. It's culture. That's what it's all about, culture. It's for people to understand that as an organisation, we can't stand still. We have to move forward. And culturally, they've got to play a massive part in that. We're a business all around people. We serve thousands of people every day, some of them in the most vulnerable situations. And the human voice in that is always going to play a massive part. But you've got to be, we say, digital convenience with human care. Because that's the way we like to couple the two areas together. There's huge demographics of the UK that won't want to speak to people. They want to do it digitally. They want to use technology, and we've got to be there for them as well. But on the cultural side, we need the whole organisation to move forward. We adopt a always ahead mantra and mission for the AA, and that's what we're trying to promote. We've done that successfully over the last 3-4 years, working with Nick and the digital team. And now we're at the cusp of another, step forward using AI, but again, that will only be succeeded if culturally we take the organisation with us.
Amazing. So Nick, I guess, what are some initiatives that other leaders in other organizations can think about regarding, the culture of the organization and helping people think about AI and other technologies?
Yeah. I mean, as I said to you a little bit earlier, on AI specifically, we'd had a really intensive 3 years of digitizing the group. The group was behind, frankly, 3 years ago where it needed to be from digitization capability. And there's quite a trodden path on that. And lots of colleagues use that stuff in their everyday lives. They'll use apps, they'll use web portals, etc. And we're a bit behind the curve on that. From an AI perspective, I think that actually helped us, because as much as we were catching up, we had all of these colleagues on this journey with us to digitize the group, build better journeys, be really intolerant of poor experience, really measure failure demand, and get the feedback loops working between the channels. AI, has sort of come onto the landscape in the last 18 months in a way that says it's made us rethink about, do we continue to build down that digital path, or is there a better solution where we don't just digitize, but we fully automate, or we fully deploy AI to contain that journey that we was on a path to digitize. So I think in a way the two portfolios have sort of merged and combined over particularly the last year, to have a combined digital and AI roadmap for the group.
Oh, that's fascinating. It sounds like, being on this journey over the last couple of years has really enabled you to make the most out of what's coming now as well. So I guess, Harj, you have such a big team, right? What do you look for in people so that, the transformation is successful? Is there specific skills or mindset that you look for that, helps?
I think there's the obvious things of people who are, got a level of courage, they've got hard work ethic. But I think the quality that always stands for me is the curiosity one. People who always want to pull on that string to think, but what if this or what if that? So they don't take the answer straight away. They'll go away, they'll inquire, they'll play, they'll be curious with it. And I think with AI, that's the sort of mindsets we want, because it's not a technology that's been around readily for 10, 20 years. So you can use it and make advantage very quickly if you've got the hunger and desire and the curiosity to really want to do that. So that's what we're really saying to people. We've been delighted with the work with Cambridge Spark and the transformation we're doing with all our senior leaders. And I was at cohort 1 at Cambridge only last week, and in the 4 months from the 2 visits, the amount of progression our cohorts had made was phenomenal. And to see some of the presentations, I shared it with the executive team at our weekly meeting last week. I was blown away with how far people had come in 4 months in their thinking. And they were doing demos of live activity, within 4 months. And I spoke to them at the end of the day and said, some of you probably shocked yourselves by how far you've come. And they were, yeah, it is. But I could see that there was a real belief and confidence in what we'd work partnering with yourselves and your organisation, that if in 4 months you can achieve that much while people were still doing the day job, imagine when you really create this centre of excellence in Nick's world and really get the technology flowing into the whole business, what the potential could be.
Yeah, 100%. How does that make you feel, Nick? Because it feels like it's really special times.
Yeah, it does. It's felt really good. I mean, we clocked really early on that this technology was going to be a little bit different. The AA has been through every wave of technology over the last 120 years, right? So you can imagine the path this business has been on. If you look back at our heritage, it's fascinating how we used to run this business with a whole bunch of cartographers building maps and all that sort of stuff. Very different business today. But it became really clear to us like a year or so ago that although there was a desire, a lot of our colleagues didn't quite know what to do. And this AI, you're being hit with it every day. New technologies emerging, new models emerging. So we really clocked for our leaders, skills was going to be important. Like, how do we get everybody to understand the way to reimagine the way we do things in the business? So part of that was, working with Cambridge Spark and building out a program for our leaders. Secondly, tooling. We had some choices to make on tooling for our colleagues. And what we found really early on was that giving colleagues the tools that they are using outside of work had a massively disproportionate effect if they could use the same tools inside of work. So that's why we decided actually to buy 1,500 ChatGPT enterprise licenses, deploy them securely, get all of the guardrails and frameworks right so that colleagues could use them safely with all of our connectors and confidential information. But like that combination of giving everybody a set of skills, giving them some space and time to work with colleagues they don't normally work with to practice skills in a safe way, and then a bunch of tooling with some skills and upskilling how to use it. As Harj said, within 4 or 5 months, we've just seen the water level rise across the organisation really quickly into the space now. We've got these cohorts. I'm on cohort 2. We've got a bunch of colleagues on cohort 3, We've got 50 more use cases that have entered the system. Many of them are going to make their way to production pretty shortly.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, I'd love to continue the conversation on the tooling aspect, right? So you've deployed a lot of licenses. Can you walk us through the strategic rationale for deciding, what tool to adopt versus maybe, supporting many tools, and how do you make that decision?
We hired a few people at the center to come and help us with that thinking. So not a huge team by any stretch of the imagination, but a few people have actually been around this, have done it elsewhere to come help us. Two, we did deliberately pick a set of tooling and frameworks that was not irreversible. Give us flexibility. The market's going to change quickly over the next couple of years, we know that. So yes, we chose ChatGPT. We've also got a bunch of developers using Claude Code. We've got Copilot licenses. So we've got a smorgasbord of tooling available in the group, all deployed securely so that colleagues can use it with confidence that all of that's been taken care of. And we'll keep our options open. We'll keep really flexible on tooling to make sure that colleagues have the right tools to do their job. Of course, you need some governance to make sure you don't end up in a world where you've just got a plethora of tools that are ungoverned. So we've got some structure, some thinking at the center, a really effective technology review board we put in place actually to appraise tools, understand the costs, understand the implementation. But beyond that, we also realized you can't be too dogmatic on this. You've got to keep your mind open, experiment, and then just keep fixing forward.
Yeah, great. So it's quite a fine balance to keep flexibility, but also empowering people to use the best tool to solve the job, which, Harj, brings me to you, right? Because you're so close to the impact on customer, and your team is literally at the front line. There's all those tools that, somehow have to be adopted and utilized. So I'd love to get your perspective, what does good technology foundation looks like for you, and what does it mean in practice for the people on the ground?
Yeah, and I think we look at it from the outside of the business back in. So how can we make dealing with the AI easier for customers? And that stretches all the way to the thousands of patrols that drive around in their vehicles trying to fix vehicles. How can AI help them get someone quicker, fix the vehicle quicker, and fix more of the vehicles? That's the ultimate ambition we have. That comes all the way back into the contact centers, where I want my staff to be able to say yes to customers more when they phone about any query, rather than 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they'd say, no, we can't do that. Now we can. Yes, we can do it. And I want to give them more empowerment and permission culture at their fingertips. So then there's no need to refer things off. I don't think many customers would say phoning a contact center and being put on hold is something that they enjoy. So that's something that we want to eradicate and make sure that we're seen as somebody that's easy to deal with, straightforward, and just does things that you want and takes all the hassle out of life to get that done. We've got frontline colleagues who have been given co-pilots and chat GPTs. They've created agents. They've made agents to make their lives easier, and then they've shared that across other peers to say, look, this is what I've built. It's been approved. It's got the verification from the respective risk communities, etc. This is what it saved me. Would you like to try that? And we've got this upspringing from the bottom, joining in with what Nick has said about the centre of excellence and the top-down senior management. So it's a real exciting place to work at the moment, because everybody is talking this new language about AI, but we're doing it in a way that we've always got that customer in mind to say, that's the ultimate test point for us. How do we measure that we're seeing benefit through the customer's eyes rather than constantly looking internally?
And how do you do that? How do you measure the benefits for the customer?
We measure that many KPIs. We measure, the most obvious KPIs you'd have in any sort of operation that I run about efficiency and productivity and cost. But for me, it's about complaint levels. If you're getting things right, you got less complaints. We had for the last 2 years. NPS is moving up. It's, again, at the highest levels it's been for 2 years, etc. Satisfaction levels are moving the right way. But I also think it's really important that you see it from the organisational staff point of view. Our engagement scores are up. So you could argue that people would say this is going to be seen as a threat. It's not. They're happier working in the organisation now than at any point in the last 5 years. So when you look at that all together, you say, well, this has got to be working in the right way, because we're very, very mindful of the impact on people. We are openly transparent and honest with what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we think it's a benefit for people, and also how it can upskill. Many people have worked in the business for, like I said, more than a decade, 2 decades. This is the first time they're getting real personal upskilling and learning something new in their job. And what that allows them to do is embrace and increase their own personal toolkit. And for the first time, they may start looking for other internal roles rather than being pigeonholed in one job that they've done for the last few years.
That's fascinating because it's such a valuable skill set that really encourages maybe internal mobility.
100%, and that's what we want people to do, to be able to do more and look wider across the business, because that breeds collaboration. Then when you can do your job and know more about somebody else's, you'll partner and you'll come together. And if that is always looking to solve business problems that ultimately benefit a customer, that's great momentum together.
Yeah, I like that. Seems to be a common thread here. The North Star is what's right for the customer.
100%.
There's one other bit I'd add to that we hadn't quite designed at the start. When we deployed Enterprise GPT, we had a rollout program. We in those first few weeks, we saw in the data some really early adopters, and it wasn't where you expected. It was in the technology function, it was in the operational functions, in finance, in HR. So actually, the next thing we did was rapidly spin up a champions program. How do we get 75 of the most engaged, galvanized people around the group who are showing really early adoption, curiosity? As Harj said, we built 300 GPTs in the first couple of months. That wasn't expected. So actually, this champions network, 75 colleagues at all levels, not a hierarchy thing, across the group, who are helping others, who are the evangelists on the ground, who are running brown bag sessions, lunch and learn. It's been so powerful. And that hasn't been a top-down program. That's been a bottom-up program. These guys are super engaged. They want to help others. And I think it's a good way of actually understanding that in this, you do need some top-down frameworks and tooling for sure, but the bottom-up excitement and turning that into something that colleagues can help each other with has been really powerful.
Yeah, well, I really love this combination of top-down and bottom-up. And it sounds like that's creating a lot of demand and new projects and tools and so on. And, it could be a challenge, right? So I'd love to ask you the question on, how do you manage all this internal excitement and all this production of new projects and agents and so on in a way that still benefits the business? Is there like a framework to approach this?
I mean, it's really hard. We definitely went in with a theory of let's not let 1,000 flowers bloom in an uncontrolled fashion. But on the other hand, once colleagues start building GPTs and having access to it, it's really hard to control it, and you don't really want to over control it. So we've been really selective. Like, the group will make a number of calculated but big bets. So we're going to make some choices about where we deploy it. We know our business, we know what we do, and we know where there's huge opportunity to improve the business. And we're going to make some calculated bets in that space, which we've already started. But beyond that, we'll also have some freedom within the framework. We'll allow some, in fact, today we've just launched a Dragon's Den type process. We've put some money in a pot to allow teams to access that and do some low code, no code, maybe mid code development within the teams. So a combination of both. So yeah, it's curated rather than controlled, but we sort of know the pockets of opportunity that we want to work on over the next 18 months, and they're really exciting.
That's amazing. I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. If you're finding the insights useful, please do take a moment to subscribe to the Data and AI Mastery podcast and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Every new follow helps us reach more people and share the incredible work being done by today's data and AI leader. All right, let's go back to the episode. So is there, and maybe a question for you, Harj, is there like a framework to filter ideas that, yes, they're going to be impactful versus it's probably not the right time or it's not going to be impactful?
Yeah, the Dragon's Den approach is open to everybody in the business. That's the first thing. But we'll probably control it at directorate level first to say, okay, let's support and give everybody the best chance. What you said earlier is so important, that everybody now is behind this and wants to do something. So you've got to have a level of control around it. You've got to make sure that happens. Otherwise, it can be organised chaos and everyone's doing that. And then suddenly you remember the day job's got to be done as well, so everyone's off working with AI. So I think it's getting that balance right. So I think we've got a measured approach now to say, okay, let's be very transparent what people are working on. There's no point 2 or 3 teams trying to do the same thing. Let's come together and make it even more powerful, etc. So sharing of ideas is really important. Then it's a case of, okay, which bucket does your opportunity fall into? Is it productivity? Is it efficiency? Is it a growth thing? Is it pure innovation? And how can we support that? So we're really nurturing and supporting all the ideas before they turn up at this, say, a Dragon's Den event where you're pitching them for this real investment into, say, look, let's take this forward at organisation level. I said, Jakob, the CEO, launched that only today, and I've already had messages pinging on my phone from people saying, look, this is fantastic. Can we take our idea forward, Harj? So it's already like, I'm like, it's only started today. Let's get the right people together. But that hasn't really happened with many things in the organisation when you've launched it. You normally launch something, you've got to give it a push a couple of times, and then people take to it. It just shows culturally, I think we've done well in how we've promoted AI and how we've upskilled and how we've partnered with people like yourself. And I think people now really excited about this is the next step, that you can really come up with ideas and innovation that are going to be backed at organisation level. And again, that doesn't really happen everywhere at the level that we're promoting it.
Yeah, fantastic. So to balance it out, Nick, like, fast forward a couple of years, right? What do you see are the big opportunities, but also the challenges that, might be coming your way?
If we get it right, if we get it right, the opportunities are like really significant. If we get it wrong, I mean, it really is a really operational business, like I said earlier. Let's just imagine, right? We've got a family who have broken down on the side of the M6. It's midnight, and we need to get a patrol to that family. We don't quite know, what pets they've got in the car. We don't know what the fault with the engines, but we know there's a family in distress. If we use AI and technology to get that journey better and make it right and more predictive and dispatch the right resources with the right parts, like that could be a game changer. It could be absolutely transformational. We get it wrong, it's equally bad for that family. So at the end of our, there's always the last mile of our journey is where our shining knights in the fluorescent gear turn up to go and rescue someone. So it really is making sure that we've got the roadmap to make that experience. And cars are getting more connected than ever, right? So we can ingest data, we can do all sorts of things in the future. Get it right, it's an absolute game changer for us. But we also know it's high stakes, it's high risk. These are really important moments of truth. They don't happen very frequently. And we've only got one chance to leave a lasting impression on that customer of our brand. So like that is a good example of how we're thinking about the opportunities, but also the risks, and there are.
Yeah, no, I love it. At the end of the day, it's really thinking about the end customer, right? And like seeing it through the eyes, and that's kind of like your guiding light in a way. So that's really interesting. And Harj, how do you balance out, over the next couple of years, right, this idea of incremental improvements versus just reimagining, how the customer operation experience looks like, or even how the customer interacts with the AI. So how do you balance those two together?
I think for the contact center industry, I think this is probably going to be the biggest change for 2-3 decades, particularly in my lifetime of working in the industry. I think we're on the cusp of something very, very special. And I mean that not only for customers, I mean that for people working in the industry. Firstly, I think the contact centers will always be needed and will always be present. However, I think the role of a contact center individual is going to change significantly. I think the job is going to be upskilled to a level that they're going to become, orchestration hubs that are data-led with AI technology, that are single points of success for individuals, and make a whole business operate by the fact that they can look across many domains, many touch points, many industries, and one individual has got the ability to access that much knowledge and that much capability that's never been seen before. That's agnostic of the back-end platforms they're using. I think they will all find a way to be linked to make sure somebody can do that. So you'll really have, for the first time, a core one-stop shop. Because that example Nick gave about the family breaking down, that may still start with a phone call for the first 60 minutes, 60 seconds. But then you might find that you've got that individual able to access a car, see the data, understand where the patrol is, link the two together, make sure that people are safe. If there is pets, etc., make sure we've got a concierge service set up. Is there a hotel nearby? Get that ready, because these people won't be able to get home, and we won't get the vehicle home because I can see from the access. So don't send a patrol van, get a recovery truck going straight away, because I've looked in the vehicle and that can't be fixed, so we're going to have to move them, etc. And that is all being orchestrated by one person who's owning that situation. Historically, 3-4 years ago, that may be 5-6 different individuals in the business owning their part of that. Going forward, the technology we're now looking at should be able to say that's one person's responsibility to own that end to end. And there is nothing more customers love than knowing that somebody is looking after them and dealing with that whole issue. They don't like it when people hand off, put them on hold or transfer. If they know they've got somebody who's looking after them at their most vulnerable moment, that is why they deal with organizations and stay dealing with those organizations. I think AI is going to allow us to upskill our people and then for transform the role of a contact center worker to a level that's never been seen before.
Wow, that's a super compelling vision, right? Being able to empower that level of ownership around the customer outcomes through access to more data. Hey, Nick, so what advice do you have for, an executive that is looking to demonstrate ROI out of technology and AI? Where should they start? How should they think about it? Any recommendation?
Well, I think all of us, no matter what role you do around the executive table, I'm in technology, Harj runs ops, you have to lean in, you have to be curious. This is not something you can outsource or completely delegate to the technology function. It's as much a business transformation topic, a colleague transformation topic, as it is a technology. Right? I think that's a really important part. Every one of the GEC in our company is leaning in. They are all going through the same learning with their colleagues in a very non-hierarchical fashion. Point number two is, I think, keep an open mind about the technology. It's really easy to be too skeptical at first. And for sure, there's hype, right? There's definitely hype in this space. But in that, it's about navigating and finding the genuine opportunities, the partnerships, the connections, keep current. So actually, if you've been in digital around technology for the last 10 years, you had to do that. You had to keep current, make connections, attend the right seminars, etc. I don't think this is any different. I think the difference is the pace at which it's moving, and the fact that we've all not been using this in our day-to-day lives for that long. When did GPT come out? November 22. It's not been that long where we've all been using apps now for 15 or so years, right? So I think the familiarity of it can make you feel a little bit overwhelmed and daunted. And even, the last 18 months, I've had points where I thought, I just cannot keep up with the pace at which the thing is moving. But don't be daunted by it. Stay curious, stay connected, work as a team. And you know what? The bit I said earlier, you'll find some real pockets of innovation and surprising places you didn't expect to find it in the group. So keep an eye on the metrics, see who's using it, see who's posting on the internal chat networks, because you'll find someone that you didn't expect doing stuff that's super cool. Go talk to them.
It's interesting because both of you said curiosity is like a key skill set in times like these that are moving so fast. As a follow-up to that, Nick, clearly a big investment in lots of licenses in the business, get the business on the journey. How do you think about ROI and P&L? Because, in reality, a lot of leaders are trying to figure this out and they might not be seeing the returns yet. How do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I guess we've deployed sword and shield in some respects. Like, we don't want to be too defensive, and we know we need to keep an open mind, and there'll definitely be some learnings through investment where it doesn't quite pay off. So, we're trying to make sure we stay disciplined on investment and don't just start spending money willy-nilly on it, but also, deploy the sword. We're confident that the technology can play very strongly to some of our business cases. So, there's a load of demand for investment in the EA. There always will be more demand than supply. We're applying our disciplined approach to how we allocate capital, but we're also realizing this technology is a little bit nascent. It's a little bit more nebulous in places, so have some room for innovation. But as I said earlier, this can't be 1,000 flowers blooming and no benefit at the end of it. There has to be some payback for the group.
And in that case, if you can't see, short-term P&L impact yet, what is worth measuring?
Yeah, but I think we can. I think we can see where it's really easy to measure. Less phone calls, shorter cycle times, less complaints. That is measurable, and we're seeing that. And that's given us confidence to keep investing in that space. I think the point on giving 1,500 colleague licenses, I can see it on the floor. I walk the floor, I see everyone screen with ChatGPT. I see better packs, more effective meetings, even myself using transcription and write-ups. I can see it, but trying to put a monetary value on that is hard, and you can spend more time weighing it than getting the benefits of it. So I think we are generally trying to give colleagues tooling, skills, and we'll keep monitoring over time how effective the organization's becoming through lots of different ways, and relying on the finance and the HR function to help us with that. But in the other areas, there are certainly some harder metrics that we're seeing good progress on.
Fantastic.
We also get confidence on the fact that we've been doing this for 3-4 years now. And we know the ROI we've delivered in the last 4 years with the partnership between digital and the operations. AI is just a new tool. The intention and the momentum is already built. And a lot of the things we've done so far is that we've landed new technology on people and said, use this instead. What we're now saying to those people who understand our mission and purpose is, create with us and you tell us what you think this tech could do to delight customers and drive efficiency and productivity. So now we're co-creating with the people who've known the mission we're on. That gives us even more confidence to do the right things and move forward. And we have the ambition to be the best, and that ambition will never change. And we believe we're well on that road already. We've got, ambitions to be bigger, to be broader across the organisation and to make sure we can disrupt other industries and, take margin, take share, whatever we need to do. But to do that, you need the best people and the best systems to be able to make that step forward. We think we're well on that journey, and the confidence comes from what's happened since we've all joined and taken the momentum in the business as much as what we're investing in now.
Fantastic. Sounds like success is really bringing technology and people together. Hey, it's been great to have you on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I've loved this episode with Nick and Harj. They are really brilliant and so passionate about the topic, and so exciting to talk about the AA, a 120 years old organization. And over the last 5 years, they've gone through growth after growth after growth, and that's only possible with a fantastic executive team and fantastic people behind it. Now, in our conversation, what I thought was really fascinating is this dual approach. They've made a huge technology investment, bottom up, providing 1,500 licenses to people to really upgrade and reimagine the ways of working and take that investment into tangible customer outcomes. But they've also taken a top-down approach and investing in the leadership team, investing in people to be really at the pulse of innovation and what AI can do for the business. And really it's that combination that is making the AA so successful. Definitely a company to watch, and I can't wait to see where they take this forward. Thank you everybody for listening in, and see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Data and AI Mastery. If you found value in today's discussion, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an insight from the leaders driving the future of data and AI. And if you're a data and AI leader looking to upskill your workforce with the fundamental data and AI skills to transform your business, Cambridge Spark is here to guide you every step of the way. Be sure to reach out to us on LinkedIn or on our website, cambridgespark.com. Until then, be sure to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with data, and remember, mastery comes with continued learning and action. Until next time, stay ahead, stay inspired, and stay masterful.